I represent the western side of Houston in the greater Houston area along the Texas Gulf Coast, along with some of my colleagues on the panel. It is also the heart of the energy industry. And Dr. Francis mentioned Hurricane Harvey in her remarks this morning. Harvey, as we all know, is one of the most devastating disasters in our history. It was also our third 500-year storm in a span of less than 3 years. So we are seeing increased frequency and intensity of weather events. We are also seeing the risks of sea level rise and concerned about storm surge in our community. And in our district, we understand that climate change is real, and we believe in working together in a collaborative way is the best approach for us to tackle this challenge. That means collaboration between research institutions, industry, and governments at the federal, state, and local levels. So we believe that everyone has to be a part of the solution and a part of addressing this challenge. And with that in mind, I have a few questions relating to these topics. First, for Dr. Francis, can you tell us briefly what the science tells us now about the intensity of the extreme weather events that we've experienced and how that might or will change in the future?
Yes, thank you for the question. As I mentioned in my oral testimony, there are certain things that we know for sure are happening in the climate system. And Houston is probably in the crosshairs of a lot of those. You have seen, as you said, increased flooding. We know that heavy precipitation events are increasing dramatically. You've seen heat waves increasing. You've even seen drought increasing. And we also expect to see tropical storms intensifying more rapidly, and potentially we expect to see more of the very strongest tropical storms. A lot of those things are very clear. And what is a little less clear relates back to Harvey and some of the extreme events that you all have witnessed and experienced, and that is we're also seeing an increase in the persistence of weather regimes. So it could be dry, it could be hot, it could be cold, it could be wet. But we're seeing an increased persistence, and we believe that that is also related to climate change.
Thank you very much. And more broadly for the panel, we do believe it's important to include everyone in working together on these solutions. So in particular, do any of you all have experience with or suggestions on how the energy industry can work together with your institutions and with those of us who are making policy to be part of the solution towards climate mitigation? And I should also add, I believe that they already are, and certainly in my district, most of the industries have acknowledged and are working to combat climate change. But any specific ideas you have of policies or programs you think would be helpful for this committee to know?
Well, so there's sort of a style of doing science that I think very much gets at this, and that's science that is sort of stakeholder engaging, and the jargon is transdisciplinary, but basically the idea is start with a problem, right? The problem is the resilience of the energy system off of Houston. And then you're going to get together the different disciplines that you need to address it. You're going to get together stakeholders, and you're going to do the research together in a partnership. And that's a very different style of doing research than what's traditionally happened in universities. And I think it really needs we need to be rethinking a little bit of that part of the climate science enterprise to sort of make this more of a problem-focused thing.
Thank you. Dr. Eby?
Thank you. It's a very good question, and I want to echo that working with stakeholders is critically important in this process. And to step back more broadly and say that companies want to have healthy workers and healthy communities. They don't want to see their workers flooded. They don't want to see the impacts on their workers and on their families. And so there are ways that one can work together to try and ensure the resilience of the community while the companies work to ensure their own resilience, to make sure that as these extreme events occur, they are not affected, that their facilities are not affected. So facilitating those partnerships at the federal, state, and local level is critically important.
Thank you very much. My time has expired, so I will yield back the remainder